Welcome to High Performing Teams by Paul Higgins, the Boost Training number 7. So most of you are watching this as a recording. So what I want to first state is if you struggle to build a high performing team, it's not your fault. We all do. The key is what you're going to do about it. Follow a formula which works. My goal is to help you to develop a high-performing team by implementing 3 actions from this Boost training. So what we'll do is go through 4 key challenges. I'd love for you to grab a pen or paper if you're watching this as a replay and take some notes. I'd also love for you to send your challenges through to me if they're not the 4 that I've come up with. And you can do that via the Boost platform that you're used to through the direct coaching or the forum, or you can email me at paul@buildlivegive.com. So the first challenge, I think a lot of people come with moving from a solo to a team is being a perfectionist and struggling with letting go. I know for me, certainly, it's something that I really struggle with when at corporate, you are told to do everything perfect. So you've always got a boss, someone seeing you watching over. So you want to do something that is really well. And normally for you to be successful in corporate, you've worked really hard and you have done the right things. Then you go out by yourself and you're all of a sudden doing everything. And then when you do everything, it's sometimes just quicker to do it by yourself. And you think, well, look, I could delegate that to a virtual assistant as an example, but maybe it's just quicker to do it by myself. And you get stuck doing the things that aren't that important at the expense of the things that are. And it gets really hard to let go. So I think, that's a challenge that I constantly see. It's a challenge that I struggle with myself when I first left corporate. And I know a lot of other corporate escapees struggle with that as well. Number 2 is you don't have the revenue to put on the caliber of people you used to. So, in corporate, you used to pay great people a good amount of money to work for you. And now you just don't have that revenue. Most of us are sort of around that $1 million mark or below, and we just don't have the ability to put on a couple of key employees. And also for those people that do put on employees ahead of revenue, you might have been burnt. I know I certainly have been, where you put them on too quickly, the revenue doesn't come, and then what normally happens is you don't pay for yourself, so you stop paying yourself because you've got to still cover the costs, or you stop doing as much marketing activity because you don't have the funds. So the top line of the business grows. And then the worst case scenario is you've got to let people go. So that's definitely a common challenge. The next is around focusing on yourself, which is good because you're really focusing on delivering a great service to your customers, but you forget what's important about your team. So what do they want to achieve? So often we get caught up with our own purpose, our own mission. We're so close to our business that we forget that the people that are working for us, whether they be contractors or whether they be direct staff, have also got something they want to achieve, and you want to make sure that that's aligned. And we've got some great ideas on how you can do that during this training. The next and the last is around, you've got a mix of full-time, part-time and contractors spread all over the world. And this can create some issues around how do you bring everyone into alignment. Certainly around culture, which we'll talk about in a moment, it's hard to have that because you don't see each other all the time. So in corporate, you're lucky that people might have even worked next to you. You could have travel budgets where you could fly everyone in to where you were located, and you could sort of meet quite regularly. Now, most businesses, most corporate escapees just don't have that budget, and it's hard to see people in person, and often you're working home by yourself. So how do you sort of keep a culture and develop a team that is geographically dispersed and not all in the same place? So as I said, you might have some challenges outside of this, so please write them down and send them to me in those 3 formats. So whether it be direct through Boost direct coaching, whether it's be in the forum or whether it be at email at paul@buildlivegive.com, and I'll certainly reply to those. And I'm hoping whatever challenges you're writing down now, we're going to solve during the course of the rest of the training. And I put this slide up every time, but there are no silver bullets. So what I want to do is present my top tips, which is a combination of both my Coca-Cola experience and also working with lots and lots of small businesses, and see how they apply, or you'll make a decision on how they're going to best apply for your business. So you don't have to implement everything out of this training. You just got to implement possibly 3 key things that will help you. So, I will show you our approach to high-performing teams. Like I said, there's a lot of work we've done in this space. Coca-Cola invested a lot of training and development, and I was very fortunate to manage some great teams. So I've got that to draw on. And, the key thing here is that we just want to give you some extra hands to help you scale, because if you want to go from a job to a business, you can't do it all by yourself, and you'll need to develop your team. So I'm going to look at 4 components. Now, some of you watching this, have spent a lot of time in corporate, so you'll have your own version of this. What I've tried to do is look now from a small business's perspective after 7 years, which combines some of the corporate. So, some of the things that corporate taught us were fantastic, but I've also applied them in a more practical way for small businesses. So the first one is around culture. So what is culture? I think it's a bit like the word strategy, that it means so many different things to so many different people. So this was a definition that I took from a 7-year-old, or was actually written by a 7-year-old. And I know that saying that if a 7-year-old can understand it, you've got a clear message. And they said it's the personality of the group. And it's often what people perceive you to look like when they first encounter your business. And an example of that is, something that you might see in the car park, for example. So, I'm still amazed that I can pull up to some businesses and they've still got, a reserved CEO or reserved president or whatever the title they've got in the car park. And I think that sort of just sets the scene for the rest of the business. And typically these aren't, or they're very hierarchical businesses. They're normally a little old school and not great on technology, as an example. So, little things like that can certainly tip you as to which way the culture is. And, there's sort of some key elements to improve the culture. Now, I got this from a course I did at Melbourne Business School, which is linked to Melbourne University, which is one of the top universities in the world. And we went through, okay, now that we know what culture is, how do we improve it? So I'll take you through how we're doing this in a practical sense with our business, but also some of the Boost and Titan members. So there's the key elements is guiding principles, stories, values, behaviors, and symbols. So from a guiding principles point of view, these are our guiding principles. Now, we did this in a workshop when I was actually in the Philippines, because most of my team are in the Philippines. And each time we bring on a new supplier or a new contractor to work with, we take these take them through the guiding principles. So you can read them there for yourself. Now, I'm not saying that these are the right guiding principles, not by any stretch of the imagination, but they're ones that we've agreed to and we live by. So, certainly that one down the bottom, I constantly remind my team and remind myself, if you're not going to deliver on what you promise, explain ahead of time so there's no surprises. So I think it's a great one. But look, these guiding principles you need to develop, I think, with your team, and you need to have them and certainly be part of your induction for new team members, but also anyone that touches your business from a supplier's or a contractor's point of view. And then we've got values and behaviors. And once again, everyone interprets these a little different, but at Coca-Cola, it was once explained to me about a person which made the most sense. So it said, the strategy is the thinking part. So you think the strategy first, and then you have the values, which are the closest thing to your heart. So that's the way you feel. And, our values at Build, Live, Give are honesty, integrity, and trust. So, if I ask my team, they should be able to mention those off by heart: honesty, integrity, and trust, and what each of those stand for. So, just take a minute to think, do you have clear values that your business, everyone in your business, including your key suppliers, could could nominate. Now, once again, I'm not saying that those values are right for your business. You'll come up with a different set of values, but it's the concept that counts. And then the behaviors is, are you living them? It's, in this diagram, it's the arms, but are you actually living them out? It's and so our behaviors are, learners, caring, passionate, and tenacious. So that's the behaviors. So whatever yours are, I think it's really important to have it. It's part of, once again, of your onboarding, whether it be full-time, permanent, or contractors. So I think, out of culture, I think the key thing is to run a workshop and make it very collaborative. And if you've got teams that are from different cultures, you've got to be aware of that. Certainly in the Philippines, it was difficult. I was used to Australian Americans where it was a lot more open and they challenged the culture, be it good or bad, whereas I found the Filipinos were less outspoken. So certainly we did it got them to talk about it in their own language and then come back as a spokesperson in English as an example. But the key thing is that they are owned by the team, and as the team expands, you need to take each person through those so there's a common alignment. The next one is around engagement. So engagement is about how much someone enjoys working for your business and if they would refer someone else to come and work for you. So that's a definition that I found off Google. And I think that sort of, pretty much sums it up. And most of you would be used to employee engagement surveys if you've been in corporate. So I won't labor on the point. But what do they want before you work out what you want? So there's Napoleon Hill, which he's got some fantastic books, a man way ahead of his time, but, you give before you get. Now, I know that's a common buzzword these days, but I really do think that to have engaged employees, you need to work out what they want as much as what you want. And, certainly I've got some examples coming up where we've done that with employing new people. So, well, there we go. It's coming up very soon. So the a new staff hire interviewed the other day, and I asked them what do they really want to achieve, and it was interesting. They said they want to run their own business at some point, so that's why they love the fact that we work with small business people and we mentor and coach people so they can learn by observation through that. And they also want to spend more time doing photography, so they don't necessarily want to work full time. They'd like to work, 30 hours a week or something. So, I think that's a great example where getting that up front and really seeing how what they want to achieve in life is aligned to what your business can bring will certainly help with engagement. And I know it's a simple thing, but often what we do is go straight into what we want and straight into what the job is, and we forget about the individual that's going to be working for us. Because certainly from a remote point of view, that motivation, because you don't see people all the time face to face, you might talk to them all the time, but it's not the same as seeing them. Really understanding them at their core and what they want to achieve is important. So one way to gauge the engagement is by doing some questions. So in corporate, every 2 years we used to do an employee engagement survey. So Hewitt was the company that Coca-Cola used, and it was good, but it sort of became a bit of a tick in the box exercise, to be honest. But what I think there's a lot more immediacy that you can do through different platforms that I'm going to show you in a moment, where you can actually get feedback a lot quicker. And I'll also show you some examples of how we've used that feedback within our business. So these are some of the questions. So pause, I'm more than happy for you to use them. Obviously take the reference out of our business, but these are some of the key questions that you could ask. And then we've got those as well. So you get the sense of what the questions are. And in a moment, I'll show you how you could, possibly just take those and pop it into a Google form or something like that and send it out. So what are some of the platforms? So, I haven't used all of those, I must admit. I'm researching them for my book at the moment, but we do use Peakon. Now, Peakon for a lot of small businesses is a little on the expensive side, but it's a great platform because what it does is it tells you a result, but it also gives you some artificial intelligence, or it uses some data mining to say what you should do about it. And that's why I love that platform. So we do that every month. It's an anonymous survey that people fill out based on the questions, which a lot of the questions are similar to the ones that I just showed you on the last two slides. So once again, if you want to take those and swipe those questions, you can just go back, pause, and take them down. And also you can always ask me at paul@buildlivegive.com and I can show you it. Then we've got some others. So there's Office Vibe, Tiny Pulse, 15.5, and Culture Amp. So I recommend having a look at one of those, but I'm going to show you in a moment, you can do it by yourself, but I think if you've got a good sized team, if people is the most important asset you've got, it's definitely worth getting a pulse on the engagement and using a great platform. Some other options, if you want to do it in a little bit more affordable way, is to use something like Typeform, which is what we use. I think it's roughly $25 US a month for unlimited forms. So you can create it in that, or you can use Google Forms. I think the most important one here is that it's anonymous, so people don't know or aren't individually picked out when they're doing the survey. I think that's the most important thing if you're going to go your own route.